Hello again, everybody. This is Derek from ScreamingEagleAirsoft.com. Yes, that's ScreamingEagleAirsoft.com, your airsoft superstore. You can come there and pick up all your airsoft guns, supplies, BBs, magazines, whatever you need. Today, I am going to be doing a know-it-all video on my JG M4 that I've been using. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be upgrading components in my gearbox, and today I'm going to show you basically how to open up the gearbox, how to get into it, how to mess with the components, change them out, and put it back together. Should be a pretty quick video. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, on a gearbox version 2, there are a number of screws. There are these 4 along the top, this one, these 2, and then that last one. And if you look closely, they're all star keys. They're not Allen wrench holes, they're star key holes. So you need a star key tool that'll go in there and allow you to unscrew them. If you do not have a star key, that is something you should invest in. A lot of gearboxes use it. Okay, here we go. Unscrewing the gearbox. I'm down to the last 2 screws. I got one here in the front, one here in the back, and as I take those off, I will hold the gearbox down. I lay my screws out in the order that I took them out in, basically in a row, so that I know exactly where they go when they go back in. Because I don't want to mix up my screws, like put the top one in the bottom or the bottom one in the top or anything like that, if that makes sense. Okay, all the screws in the gearbox are out. Now before I separate this gearbox, I'm going to be sure to put a screwdriver or something in the back hole to hold the buffer guide tube down so that the spring doesn't pop up and go all over the place. Okay, this is like the hardest piece. For some reason, it doesn't want to come out. It wants to stick on the top. There we go. Okay, you can see that this spring is under tension. So I push it in and I let it out a little bit. There we go. Let off all the extra tension. Okay, there's the gearbox. Pretty simple. Alright, what I like to do first is I take all the pieces apart and then I do a little inspection first. Inspect your pieces. Right? I bring the spring out, the guide tube. I'm only going to clean this up because I don't like having dirty pieces laying all over the place. But I am going to be replacing it with that one. And then the spring, I'm going to clean the spring up, even though I'm not going to be using it anymore. I'm going to be using that spring. Okay. Okay. There is a spring on the tappet plate right here. That needs to come out. I use my needle nose pliers to grab this end and just lift it up off that bar. That releases any tension on that spring. So now this thing will just move freely. Let's go ahead and pull this up and out. There we go. It's my cylinder and cylinder head. Or is that my piston? I get those confused. This is either my piston or I think it's my piston. This is my piston and piston head. That's getting replaced. And then this is my cylinder and cylinder head. Actually, that's not getting replaced. Dang. That's what I need to get replaced. That's alright. And this simply just comes right out. And the cylinder head, the cylinder looks awesome, looks good, does not look damaged or dented or binged or dinged in any way. Looks smooth and beautiful. And this is just going to be recycled, something else. Alright, looking at my gears, okay, let's pull the tappet plate out. Tappet plate is out. Also, just cleaning off any of the silicone grease that I had on there before, which I had quite a bit of it on there. And there is the air nozzle. And the air nozzle just slides on the end of the tappet plate. That's just coming right on off. And we're going to put the new one on. Okay, here's the spring. Looks like an anti-reversal latch. And there's my gears. Pulling my gears out. Alright, my gears look good. Okay, everything looks good in the gearbox. Pretty simple, huh? Alright. So let's put this thing back together. Cylinder head comes all the way out to where the cylinder head is flush with the cylinder itself. There you go. Turn that 90 degrees. So you have that air intake vent right there on the side. It's probably supposed to be on the side. I do believe that's where it goes. So when that goes back in, these holes line up with these holes right there. Okay. That was easy. Okay. This just pops on right there. Just snap it right on, right down into the groove. Super easy. Easy peasy. Swiss and cheesy. Okay. And the cylinder head, the piston head actually looks pretty dang good. Okay. Silicone grease. A little bit of finger action. I put it on there. It also improves the seal and lets it move around. I put it inside the grooves because that's really what rubs. With auto fire, you just get a constant like rubbing. Okay, maybe a little more of that. Okay, teeth down, of course, right? Because your gears have to catch them. See, because when it's back like that, there's air that it captures inside there, and then when it fires forward, right about there it stops capturing air and it pushes air out the front, and that's it comes back, gets more air, goes forward, if that all makes sense to you. Okay. Now these guys should all turn with ease. Okay. To test your gear shimming, what I do is I put your gear box halves together just so you can roll your gears inside without interference of the spring or the piston or anything. There you go. And then you just hold the gearbox together. I mean, there's nothing in there. And then you just reach in with your finger and turn it, and everything seems to be moving smoothly. Yep, everything's moving on their ball bearings. Okay, so then I open it back up. Knowing that it's going to be fine. And then I turn that to that point, that dot right there, the one that actually pulls the tappet plate back. I turn it to the 1 o'clock position, and then I prepare to put the tappet plate back in there along with the piston and the spring and all that good stuff. So we put that. Yeah. Okay. Making sure everything moves freely. Let's put that spring on. Okay, it catches on there. And then using my needle nose pliers, so that it hooks on that front plate there. There. Now the tappet plate is pulled tight because of that spring, but it will move easily. Alright, here comes the tricky part. This is when you got to put it all back together, line it up just right without it exploding in your hands. Now you should have an anti-reversal latch that when you put in the gearbox constantly wants to jump out. So I don't know if that makes any sense to you. Goes right there, but you got to twist it to get this gear in place. Twist, drop that gear in place. Now because it's spring loaded, it wants to jump. So what I do is I go in through this hole right here using a needle nose pliers. I hold it down in place. There you go. So now when I go to, and I can probably let go of that because the weight of the needle nose pliers. Now I have the needle nose pliers, I have a rubber band around the back to make it tight, like a clamp. Okay, now when I push this spring in, everything's going to be spring loaded and ready to pop. And that's when I got to get my gearbox put back together. So when everything's put together, pushed in tight. Okay, here we go. Stop moving. Trying to be quick. Okay. Putting the top on, getting it in, lining up the anti-reversal latch, and all of my gear bushings on this side. Sometimes a little chore because you got to get all the little pieces lined up. Okay, the front side is lined up. I can feel it connecting. backside is not lining up so much. Okay, the anti-reversal latch is good. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'm trying to squeeze it together. Everything looks like it's together the way it's supposed to be. All the pieces are in the right spot. Okay. All right, now we just put the screws back in. I mean, that's the name of that tune. All right, now just some prelim testing once you get it all screwed back together. A simple test is to make sure your trigger squeezes, okay, that's fine, it's not jammed in there anywhere. And also make sure you can press back on the air nozzle and press on that spring on the tappet plate. There it is. Because your BBs are feeding here, the gears will pull the tappet plate back, allowing a BB to feed, and then when it comes forward, it allows the air to push the BB out, and then it'll do that with every shot of the BB. So you got to make sure that that moves freely. Okay. Everything looks good. All right, and to replace this back into your gun, you just reverse the steps. All right, thanks for coming out and checking out this video. This was another one of our know-it-all videos. You can get more know-it-all videos on our YouTube channel. You can also find some of our M4 know-it-alls and other know-it-alls at screamingeagleairsoft.com. Please subscribe, and remember guys, whenever you're on the airsoft field, play safe.